Hello everybody and welcome to the Explore Consulting YouTube channel. My name's Derry Hughes, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Explore Consulting. Our mission is to open up consulting jobs to all capable people regardless of their background. So we're really glad you've come and joined us here, and we're going to be sharing loads of interesting content on our YouTube channel. On the 2nd of October we held our first virtual careers fair with a bunch of really inspiring speakers and panelists and consulting firms that are hiring right now. This video is a recording of the session we held with Jonan Boto, an ex-Bain Company consultant who's gone on to have massive social impact through his social enterprise Mama Kari Presents, which is named after his mother who he sadly lost to mental health problems several years ago. Jonan is a fascinating guy, and this video is full of authentic, honest stories about the lessons that he's learned from his time at Bain Company, his time now where he's a director of due diligence at boutique consultancy Kin Carta, and his journey in between, and all about what he went through to get Mama Kari up and running and the impact that he's had. So take a listen, drop some questions and comments, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. If you're interested in a career in consulting, check out www.exploreconsulting.careers. We've got tons of free resources, we've got profiles of consulting firms, and you can apply for jobs directly through the website, www.exploreconsulting.careers. And now, time to hear from Jonan Boto. Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm good. My camera is not working. So just to warn you, and apologies to everybody watching, my camera is not working. I'm going to get that sorted behind the scenes. But so Jonan, welcome. Thank you. It's great that you can join us and share your story with all of the people watching us. Just to give a quick introduction to Jonan, let me just share a slide. Oh, 1 second. Here we go.
Oh, nice.
So Jonan is currently Director of Due Diligence and Team Culture at Kin Carta Advise, a boutique consulting firm. He's also the founder of Mama Kari Presents, a social enterprise that supports emotional and mental health in the workplace. He's going to talk about his career journey. You can see some of the highlights at the bottom of the slide. I won't steal his thunder because I know he's going to talk about them in detail. The reason we asked Jonan to speak today was last summer during the Cricket World Cup, he had a slightly crazy idea to run a series of mental well-being festivals at cricket clubs around the country. And from the concept to actually delivery of those festivals, 15 festivals across the country, took about 3 months. And that's something that was just an extraordinary pace to work with, someone who'd never done anything like that before. And his consulting skills were core to his ability to do that. So without further ado, I will hand you over to Jonan to tell his story, and then there will be opportunity for Q&A afterwards. Please leave your questions in the stage chat, and we'll pick out some questions to put to Jonan once he's talked to you. So Jonan, over to you. I will let you share your screen.
Thank you. And can you hear me all right, Derry?
Yes, can hear you fine.
Okay, awesome. Hello, everybody. And first thing to say is Derry has a very beautiful face, so I apologize his camera's not on, but it's lovely. Okay, so Derry, thank you for the intro. And it sounds good when you're introed. And all I'll say to everybody out there, when you're doing stuff, it's not always that good because you're trying to do things and some things are not working, some things are. But as Derry said, I've got a few slides to talk through, just to give you an overview of what a career journey can look like and what mine looked like a bit or is looking like, and then about Mama Kari and how the consulting stuff I did was pretty crucial, to be honest, to give me the confidence and the skill set to get things going. And I'm hoping to give you 2 questions for reflection, which will hopefully spur some Q&A in the chat. So let me share this. Okay. Hopefully you can see this. Derry, can you see that?
I can, looks good.
Okay. So, guys, I want to. Okay, I'm 35 years old now. So looking back to say when I was 20, leaving uni, or 21, it's hard, and you kind of rationalize things. But I'll just give you a view on what I think my journey was kind of like. So, on the left-hand side, bottom left, some hustle. Oh my God, everybody's doing an internship. I haven't done one. God, what do I do? I did economics. I did politics, philosophy, and economics for 3 years, and then economics for another 2 years. So I was sort of first love economist. I remember getting to my first job one, which was at Nearer Economic Consulting. And I was like, hey, I'm great. I'm making a salary. My friends are making salaries, and we're spending a lot of money on drinks. It's much more expensive in London or any city versus your student union. They were making more money than me, by the way, because they were all in finance and the likes. I left that job after 8 months because I then landed like my dream job, which was working for UK Central Bank, Bank of England. And again, I thought, oh, great, this is it. I'm nailing this. And sometimes was, sometimes wasn't. So I think about 26, having been 4 years at the Bank of England, I had what you can only describe as a quarter-life crisis. And I've probably had a couple since then as well. So I hope everybody gets to experience them, but knows that you get through them. Wondering what now? And after 3-6 months of doing nothing about it, I eventually started looking into this world of consulting. And I'll fast forward, but that entry into consulting, which I'm showing on the bottom, it's not the easiest entry. And I'll be honest, so I'm not just bigging up Derry, Mark, and Ed, but you need help to do it, because as well as the CVs, there's case studies, there's X, Y, Z that you've got to do. And I eventually paid someone about £1,000 to train me up on these case studies. And I was lucky enough to get a job at Bain. I then went through 2.5 years at Bain and thought, this is good. I'm learning some skills, but what next? And started thinking about the next step, etc. I then went into freelance consultancy. And that was for the last 4 years, I've done freelance consultancy. And in the back of my mind, I'll tell you what I really love is basically politics and people. So I always thought, right, when am I going to do something that's interesting or outside of the kind of ladder, so to speak, maybe the ladder that Ed was talking about. So freelance, I had a bunch of projects, and at one point, about 1.5 years ago, it came that I had time off between projects, and I thought, right, here's my go to show that I can do something on my own. And that became Mama Kari Presents. And Mama Kari is the name of my mum. So I'll give you the background on that. All I'll say is, since last summer, post that Mama Kari, I then probably had another, oh Jesus, what next? How do I build on this, or where am I going next? So this kind of cycle of things, I would suggest, is a natural one. And I'm now building on the Mama Kari stuff on one side, as well as having a long-term job, finally back employed with a team and a salary. So for me now, it's like, let's go again. So the question for reflection for you guys, which will hopefully create some conversation, is the top right. So on the axis, what's going up and down for each of us as we go through our careers? Okay, there's now going to be 2 minutes. I'll tell you what Mama Kari was, and then I'm hoping we can push on to some Q&A with Derry. So if I think about 1 year ago, or 1.5 years ago, I had just done a freelance project with the cricket national governing body in the UK, and I really don't like cricket. So it was quite a random thing about a year and a half ago. And that came to an end in probably October 2018. And I'd come across this thing they were doing there called softball cricket to get women involved in particular into sport in a very nice, fun and accessible way. So I was pushing those guys to like invest in it, build it up, etc., etc. And you can imagine a governing body is awesome, but also sometimes slow and got various priorities. So I came out of that project thinking, okay, well, if they're not going to push it, I'll do it. I'll build it up myself, you know, in a nice, overconfident way. And the 4 things I put here are kind of what was going through my mind. My mum, I wanted her name to be on something, and you don't have to have a bad like trauma moment to push you to do something social impact. But my mum lost her life to suicide and depression, anxiety, maybe 10 years ago, 2007, but was just this beautiful person who had this amazing impact on people around her. So I knew, right, that's going to be something with me forever. Can I create a company, a social enterprise, which has a name on it? This softball cricket thing was really fun. I've been to a few of the events during my project, and I thought, okay, we should do this more. And then there was something to me about, all right, how could I get outside of London and link up with lots of different people across the UK? And it turns out that there's thousands of cricket clubs across the UK, which gives you a good channel. And then, to be honest, on the right, I was also thinking, okay, how can I learn what all this content thing is about? Let me create the most amazing social media brand and a great video, etc. Now, I'm not saying I've necessarily nailed all of these things, but that was going through my mind. And the ongoing thing was probably, I want to build something with mission. I like politics. I like bringing people together across the UK, and healthy minds and healthy bodies are for everybody. And so that's still with me. Now, let me flick through some slides just to show you that what Mama Kari was kind of about. So Derry, I hope you can, and everyone can see these photos. This is just a little view. This was in a cricket club in Wales called Rhadir. So we did 15 festivals over 3 months. We took food down there because you can see one of the pictures has a chef. I managed to get in touch with a chef who was up for coming on this trip with us. You can see the bottom right picture. That is Andrea on the right, and that is Edem on the left in the yellow. And they were our Afrobeats fitness instructors. The people in the middle on the bottom, that's me and my wife, Fisti. So this is also an excuse to like me and her have a bit of a road trip across the country. And to us, it gave me a reason to like bring my friends together. On the bottom left, we had a little launch drinks. There's some really nice food in the middle, and do the things I mentioned on the previous slide. So this is just a glimpse of how fun it was over that summer, but also how tiring it was over that summer, driving around in a van, which I kind of spent too much on hiring and often broke down on the M4. Now, the next few slides I'm going to whiz through just to say, setting this stuff up, you needed some planning, and planning is not my natural tendency. So I'll come on to consultancy and why that was important for me. This is just a couple of examples of the types of planning I was doing. This actually came from a PowerPoint deck where probably just before we did the festivals, I asked Derry, can you give me some help? Does this sound like an achievable plan? So, right, what have we done and what do we need to do next? Okay, we're going to do 12 festivals across 8 UK cities. Look at this. Wow. Okay, we're going to go to Highgate. We're going to do West Ham, etc., etc. Okay, let's get some nice branding and design. Okay, we're going to do a soft launch in mid-April with a launch drinks with all my friends, basically, to have fun together. And then we're going to try a pilot festival in Highgate on the 3rd of May. We're going to work out how good that is, and then we're going to build on that for the next ones. Okay, what do we need to do on the day? Well, we need to deliver this great festival experience, etc., etc. And I know there's some things that we need to do going forward about, can we get sponsorships, number 6, or what we're going to do for a film. what's the vision for the next 3 months? This was the annoying thing. Everyone kept asking me, oh, Jonan, what's your vision for Mama Kari? And I was like, I don't know. I just want to do something fun over this summer. Number 10, what's the long-term future core team? So you can imagine, I'm not saying, by the way, I've nailed all of these things. I'm just saying this was part of the planning process. And importantly, this is maybe not an obvious, beautiful slide to show up, but planning comes down to splitting some things into a structure and working out what you need to place where. I actually looked back into these folders and I realized that like 4 of them are completely empty. So I actually did nothing on them, but you can see what the goal was, the vision was. Okay, there we go. I hope I'm all right for time. Okay, I am going to bring that together in 2 slides here. One is to say, well, what does that Mama Kari experience mean to me now? And that's probably a year and a bit on. And I think what it means to me is I got started towards a mission, and I'm going to build on this. So that they're really important things I've taken away from it. But if I think about the thought process to get started on that, it was something like, okay, I think something like this cricket festival needs to be done because I've seen it work and I think it needs to be done more. So there I'm saying needed some energy levels and some belief levels for yourself. Then there's this middle thing of like, oh, well, like, can I do it? And can I do it so quickly? And hopefully in an organized way. And there I needed a lot of skills and what I would call habits. I needed additional belief level to do that. And majorly, I needed allies and relationships, because if you're just trying to do something on your own, it gets lonely. Derry has been an ally of mine. You'll hear from Tamsin and Harriet later, who were at Bain, who are probably not close relationships of mine, but knowing them at Bain made them allies, and I knew that they were on a social mission. So you get energy from that as well. And then there's a thing on the right, which is, all right, I can do this. What am I actually going to do? And there, to be honest, you probably need to lean even more on your allies and relationships. You need to lean again on your skills and planning abilities. And massively, you've got to do some hustle, because you're going to have to speak to as many cricket clubs as you can to get them on board. So at the bottom, I'm saying that Bain job I did for 2.5 years, which had a lot of stress in it, but loads of learning in it, was pretty critical for me across the board, for belief, for the skills of structuring a project, and for building those allies and relationships. And maybe even more importantly, leaving Bain and then doing 3 years of freelance was, okay, can I do this freelance thing without that Bain structure, which has a lot of support as well as the stress, by the way, a lot of support? Can I do it on my own? My wife is now running a tap, which is not ideal. So I'm just saying it was pretty critical. Now, the last thing I'll leave, and then maybe stop and go back to you, Derry, is this career and life cycle. And the questions for reflection for you are, what's going up and down on the y-axis for you, for us? And a second question I'd say is, how can you reframe that experience you've just gone through into a story layer? So that Mama Kari experience that I've just gone through now becomes part of my story, and it's become a layer in my story, and it's going to help me do something next. So Derry, I'll leave it there.
Jonan, thank you so much. And as you can see, I've got my camera fixed. Feedback now. Switch to a new laptop. Jonan, thank you so much. I just love hearing your story. It's so inspiring. I think back to a time when we met, when you had when I first heard about it, you just announced on LinkedIn you were going to do it, and we met up and had a drink about a week later, and I said, so what's the plan? And you're like, I don't have a plan. I just announced it and said I was going to do it. to force myself to do it. And I just thought that was brilliant, and to see how far you've taken it. One thing I was reflecting on listening to you as you went through that, particularly the launch event in April and then the trial festival in Highgate in May. You were having to learn at a rate of knots at that time, right? Like, can you talk a bit about? Actually, before you answer this question, guys, if you want to ask a question to Jonan, put it in the stage chat, and I will put it to him. It's great to see like some of you talking about how much you love the story, etc. But please do put it in the stage chat, and I'll put it to Jonan.
Go, guys.
So yeah, I was thinking like you were learning at a rate of knots then, and how did that pace of learning compare to when you were at Bain and maybe when you were back at university, and how's your ability to learn developed over the years?
Yeah, mate, great question. And one thing I'd preface it is say, if you were doing this and you've done things like this, you'd have a different approach because we've all got our different like natural skills on it. But I think we probably both, on that pace of learning, the pace of learning for me, probably that time at Bain, was accelerated, basically. And getting a major learning from Bain was when you see, for example, a really nicely put together PowerPoint pack, which explains a great story, you're not sure how it came about. Now, suddenly when you're then working at Bain and you're seeing how it comes about and you're learning on the job that you can do that, it meant you then have the confidence to do something else. Now, is that answering your question? Exactly not. On the pace of learning, I actually think the Bain thing was the massive pace of learning, and then this Mama Kari thing was executing. It was executing, basically.
Yeah, so it's almost like the Bain skills, the Bain kind of system enabled you to develop your ability to learn rapidly, and then when you're in the Mama Kari kind of tunnel that you're screaming down, you're able to execute at pace because you've done that stuff at Bain.
Completely, and you're able to say, this moment feels a bit uncomfortable, but I remember the moment of uncomfort before in these types of situations, so this is okay.
Cool, so it gives you that confidence as well. So we've got a couple of questions coming in. So Ellie and Adelan have asked similar questions about your time at Bain, talking a bit more about the time that you spent there and specifically kind of what skills you feel you gained from your time at Bain.
Okay, great question, guys. And I'll try and structure them by saying, on the execution side of things, I think you learn a real good skill on what the next step is and what the priority is to push something forward. Either what the blocker is, or what the right question is you need to go after, or what the right data point is you need to get. So knowing what that next step is was a really important skill, and trusting your judgment on it. And then on the second piece, you learn loads about how to communicate with people, not necessarily in voice, but
sorry guys, we seem to have lost Jonan. Oh, he's coming back. He's coming back. One second. Let's hope he's coming back. The point he was making there about learning to what the critical path is a really key consulting skill. And one of the things that I've taken out of my consulting career and my time at Bain and beyond as well, one of the really critical bits was the ability to identify really what matters and to think enough steps ahead that you can identify something that now that you need to resolve, because it might cause a problem 3-4 weeks down the line when you're trying to get to a big client deliverable or solve a problem. Hey, Jonan, we lost you there.
Derry, you put it better than I did. Yeah, but exactly that point, right? On critical path, and I'd also say, sorry, I could hear you as I was off, but I'd also say then that communication point on how to either get someone to come into this with you. And I'll say email is really important, guys, because there's so much email that we use. If I've got to reach out to a cricket club or to 50 cricket clubs to get 5 of them to agree to do this, I've got to be able to write a decent email. And that is just a very tactical point. And then the third, I think you might agree, Derry, just on structuring things. The structure thing is just a core skill that I'll always try and keep on.
Totally, yeah. Structuring is so important. And it's interesting, actually, there's questions coming in about kind of preparation for case interviews. And the number one thing to prepare for case interviews is to figure out how to structure your thinking. There's loads of tools out there to enable you to do that. And we're preparing stuff as well. So the ability to take a big, complicated, amorphous problem and break it down into a set of stuff that makes sense so that you know exactly what it is that you need to do. That structuring skill is absolutely core to what you learn as a consultant, and you can apply it to anything you want in life after that.
That's right.
I know too many consultants who have put together PowerPoint presentations in preparing for their weddings, for example.
Yeah. I got, and I'll even say to you guys, the structure point is like, right, I've got a long list of stuff that I need to do for my house, and how can you pull it into buckets to help you get through it, you know?
Yeah. Another great question here from Amy. Did it take courage to move jobs and push yourself out of your comfort zone? I think this is a fantastic question. So you were 2.5 years into Bain. You've got a really prestigious brand name. You're doing some great work, and you go, right, I'm gonna become a freelancer. I'm gonna walk away from the secure salary, walk away from the kind of clear path ahead of me to become a freelancer and kind of take that chance. So what kind of courage did that take, and were the times that you doubted it?
Yeah, and I'd say no doubt. And I'm speaking now quite confidently about those times, but back then I was not. And I remember thinking, I left the Bank of England, and it was clear to me that I wasn't going to be there for the next 20 years. So that was really obvious. But working out where to go or what to do or how to take the leap was really scary, because people are going to help you if you reach out to them, but you've got to have the energy to reach out to them, and there's no certainty out there. So it was really difficult. Now, what I will say is that leaving that job and then leaving Bain, probably those have given me so much confidence now, because I've realized, okay, life continues, it goes on. By the way, being unemployed and having no money or not saving any money is not great. It doesn't feel good, but you go through those things. And so even now in my current job, I don't feel trapped in it, because I feel like I've changed jobs before. I know I can do it. Let me get the most out of this current job. And so I would say to your question, I think you've got to leave at least one job in your life. I'm going to say 2, but I think that helps build your future confidence.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. I think the idea that you might kind of join a company and never leave, like, one of the things I see when people start their consulting careers is they're desperate to move, as like they want to be promoted within 6 months. They want to keep moving, and they lose perspective of quite how long and varied and interesting your career can be. And obviously, we massively recommend spending a few years as a consultant, but long-term consulting careers are not for everybody. I think consulting skills are incredibly important for most people. I think there's another great question I wanted to pick up on, and it's around the points where you felt most challenged, which you touched on a little bit, but particularly maybe within the Mama Kari experience. Like what is it that you found to be the most challenging point where your motivation was at rock bottom and you were questioning what the hell you were doing and whether you've just made a big mistake in starting this whole thing?
Yeah, I got you. I think, okay, you always need like at least someone to have some belief back to you. So you need that, because if you've talked to 5 people about, oh, this is something that would be great and do, and no one's giving you validation of it, however confident you are, that's difficult. It's really difficult. And I remember there was one guy after I'd left that cricket governing body project, one guy who I'd become good friends with there had basically said, mate, I like it. I'm going to connect you to someone at Highgate Cricket Club. And that was a massive moment. The second big thing was a woman called Lindsay, who was like a brand director, and she was just telling me, yeah, this is brilliant, do it. Like, just give me confidence to do it. Those two things were really critical. But then I'd say when I was doing the actual thing, one of the challenges was, right, we've set up this thing in Cardiff. We've got to get everyone to Cardiff. And I, on the morning of the event, thought, but I've got to tell everyone we're doing it. So sent an email around to everybody about the videos that we've got, etc., and what's going on. When actually I needed to plan the event that day. And that was a challenge where had I had someone else on my team, like a Derry, like a Tamsin, they would have been able to say, hold on, what are you doing? Stop that. So that was a challenge, just kind of pushing it yourself.
Yeah, so it's interesting you talk about the connections. You know, when in your presentation you talked about the allies and how important that is. Like you must have sent so many emails, phone calls, text messages to kind of get this thing going. Do you have a sense of how many that was?
And you know, I want to work this out, and guys, and this is for everybody, like on the phone. And Gabrielle, I can see you, and Jim, thank you, and Francesco, I can see your questions you might not have time for, but for everybody, it feels lonely sending those things out. And when you get 1 or 2 bites, you feel better. So I probably, you know, to get 5 cricket clubs or 15 cricket clubs, I probably contacted 35 individual cricket clubs. But then, by the way, on the consulting thing, like who do I prioritize? Once I found 1 or 2 people in the cricketing world who had access already to 10, that suddenly delivered results.
Yeah.
So you just got to be ready to hustle, but do it as smart as you can. And I'm learning that as I go.
Yeah. So that actually talks a little bit to Francesco's question that if you don't know anybody, and maybe not just about Bain, but like if you don't know anybody to help you achieve what you want to achieve, like what are your tips for building those relationships from a cold start?
Yeah, and I say thinking of it specifically around trying to get into Bain or trying to get in somewhere. I remember this because Derry was there and I had another friend who was there. So I knew some people there. Now that gives you help already because you can talk to Derry. He'll give me half an hour coffee, phone call, whenever to explain what you got to look at. But Derry doesn't have enough time to then do it for you or whatever. So what I really needed, to be honest, was finding something which I then said to you I paid for, which brought me into a group of 6 of us learning together how to do a case study. And we did 2 weekends of boot camp training and then could chat to each other throughout. So I remember my girlfriend at the time, or wife now, was like, why are you paying for this? This is crazy. And it was critical for me. It was critical because the way I am, I wouldn't be disciplined enough to do it on my own. So finding someone you trust, even if you have to pay them a bit, and I don't know if I'm giving an oversell to Explore Consulting, I don't know, but finding someone that you trust and then like doing a bit of investment into it to build their relationships, if you don't have them already, was really important.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just reaching out and asking the question multiple times, you can't build a relationship if you don't try and make connection to somebody. And it's not hard to find people that work at these companies and try and make a connection. I think we've got time for maybe one last question, and I really like the one that Gabriel has asked about. So putting together Mama Kari seemed like there was a lot of creativity and imagination required. And I'm thinking now particularly about what you do today with Kin Carta, which is a different type of consulting. It's more innovative, it's more digital. Like, how important is creativity in that, and how have you kind of tapped into your own creativity and the creativity of others to help you get to a really good solution?
I think that is a great question. And I don't know how everyone feels, but you go through thinking, am I creative or not? Am I this or that? Is it learnable or not? I don't know. I've become more creative as we go.
Yeah.
I wasn't that creative, so to speak, 10 years ago. So I think I must have learnt it somewhere, because I do feel kind of creative now in terms of